As part of our Korea and Japan trip, go check out the vlogs by the way, we got to ride the coveted flying dinosaur, and I was thinking, how does this compare to other B&M flying coasters? And the more that I thought about it, the more I came to realize how many of the B&M flyers I have ridden. I've done the Superman clones, the Manta clones, Tatsu, and Flying Dinosaur. The only thing that I was missing was Galactica, Starry Sky Ripper, and Heartbeat, and the latter of those two are almost impossible to get to because China.
我在北京.
So I thought, why don't I talk about this lovely model by ranking all the flyers from worst to best. In an old RC Town video, I would pull all this shit out of my ass, but we are turning a page and I am in a new era, so I got some people in the community to help me fill in the blanks. Thank you so much to Mr Coller Roaster, Nonar, and Basw for helping me with this video. I really appreciate it. Speaking of Mr Coller Roaster, Galactica is the worst B&M flyer out there, so you could take it away.
In last place is B&M's first ever flying coaster, Galactica, at Alton Towers. When it opened in March 2002, the ride was known as Air before it got renamed and rethemed for the 2016 season. For 3 years, the coaster featured VR glasses, but these were removed in 2019. I never got to experience it with VR, but it was probably the right decision to get rid of it, as it slowed down operations a lot. Galactica is located in the Forbidden Valley area of the park, next to Nemesis Reborn. The coaster is only 66 feet tall and stays close to the ground most of the time due to the strict height restrictions for rides at Alton Towers. The layout features 2 inversions, with the first one being a fly-to-lie element. This part where you're upside down is probably my favourite moment on Galactica. There's also an inline twist near the end of the ride. The total experience lasts around 1 minute and 40 seconds, with a track length of 2,756 feet. Unlike many of the other B&M flying coasters, Galactica doesn't have a pretzel loop, so there aren't any really intense parts of the ride. It's a much more graceful ride experience than some of the bigger B&M flyers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coller Roaster. In the 7th spot are the Superman clones. Now, I have ridden the One Night Great Adventure, and I have one at my new home park over Georgia. Now, the tricky thing with Superman clones is they aren't bad. I mean, no B&M flyer is horrible to begin with. They're either standout attractions or supporting cast coasters, but I just think Superman clones fall into the latter category. Outside of the pretzel loop, they just don't do much for me. The layout is relatively forceless and it doesn't deliver compared to other flyers. I do like the incline twist at the end of the ride, but this and the pretzel loop are the only rewarding features. It also doesn't help that outside of over Georgia, they kind of just sit on plots of grass. I mean, it is Six Flags, so it is much better than a parking lot, but I don't love it. The one Superman clone overseas is Crystal Wing, and this coaster looks really cool. It has incredible rock work and flies over water, so it is definitely a step up above Six Flags standards, and I think it would heighten the mid-tier layout. If I have written it, I would give it a separate ranking in this list, but I haven't, so I don't feel comfortable saying that just yet, so all these together are in the 7th spot. In the 6th spot is Heartbeat, and now this was really hard to find someone who has written this, but I did. For those of you who don't know, Heartbeat is a B&M flyer located in Xingshu, Bana, China. I know I botched that name. Not only did this coaster operate for less than 5 years and is currently SB&O, this park is so obscure it is somehow not on Coast to Coaster. For those of you who are curious, this park is located in southern China, kind of near Myanmar and Laos, so basically in the middle of nowhere in theme park terms. I am still impressed that I found someone who rode this. Unfortunately, he was busy with other things and did not have time to record a segment, but he looked and confirmed my placement on this ranking, so trust me on this one, it is in the right spot. As for the coaster itself, let me pull some out of my ass really quick. I feel like this coaster is very similar to Superman in the fact it does not do much outside of its pretzel loop. It does have 30 feet on the Superman clone, so the pretzel loop ride's more intense and there's a lot more room to meander. It does have some unique looking elements with some water flyby stuff, but beyond that, it doesn't look like an elite ride. And I got it confirmed to be in this spot by someone who has ridden it. I swear I have the DMs as proof. Starting off our top 5 is Acrobat, a Manta clone. Now there are 2 very big reasons why I separated these 2 coasters into separate spots. I believe Manta rides a lot better than Acrobat in more ways than one, and also Manta has a better atmosphere and more theming. Acrobat is a B&M flyer at Nagashima Spaland, and it definitely is one of the more well-presented rides at that park. I still think the color scheme is a little goofy, but the buildings look very nice. Now the Manta clones are a step up above the Superman clones in terms of ride experience. The pretzel loop is of course the highlighting element, but that is a trend across all B&M flyers. I just think the Manta clones do a lot more. The other inversions are fun and there is more to the layout. I especially love the water flyover, and I love that Acrobat manages to also make a half-assed one. It still feels really cool, but it's nowhere near on the level of Manta. Speaking of Manta, this is in the 4th spot for all the reasons I said before, plus it rides a lot smoother and a lot faster. I don't know, it just does, or at least from our experience it does. It also works a lot better. Manta flies so close to greenery and it is really just built into the park, something you don't get with Acrobat. So yeah, Acrobat in 5, Manta in 4. Starting off our top 3 is Tatsu. Tatsu is where I draw the line from being a supporting cast coaster to being a standout. It truly is a world-class roller coaster that can stand on its own, and its layout is pretty unique compared to other coasters in its model. First off, let's talk about the signature flyer element, the pretzel loop. This thing is insane. It is the largest one out of all of them and also the most intense. It stands at 124 feet tall, which is insane given the first drop was 111 feet tall. Because of this, Tatsu's pretzel loop is incredibly intense and the best of its kind. Yes, Tatsu has a better pretzel loop than Flying Dinosaur, but that is kind of expected given its size and its intensity. Now that is not even the reason why I love Tatsu. Tatsu is a good coaster because of its location. Being on top of the hill and in the center of the park, it overlooks everything. The feeling of flying this high up makes it actually feel like you are flying, unlike the Superman clones. It really is a special feeling. Throw in a couple of good rolls and one of the most intense elements in the world, Tatsu is a great flying coaster, but they do get better. Next up is the other Chinese coaster that I haven't ridden, so I will let Basw take over.
Coming in at number 2 is Starry Sky Ripper at Joyland in Changzhou, China. Though its stats may seem average, Starry Sky Ripper is a perfect example of what makes a flying coaster so great. Starting off with the breathtaking views of the surrounding scenery on the lift hill, you transition into a decent first drop, which is followed by an outer bank, both giving you more of those fantastic views. However, the highlight of the ride comes right after, with a unique 540-degree fly-to-lie inversion that starts off as a 0G roll before twisting another 180 degrees and leaving you on your back, which is immediately followed by a vertical loop, the only one on a B&M flyer, and it has some of the most powerful positives I've ever experienced. After that, the ride gives you some gentler turns to help you catch your breath before throwing you into a double corkscrew and a tight helix, which is followed by the brake run. Although it's short, it packs some fantastic elements into that length. The fly-to-lie into the vertical loop is one of the best sequences on any coaster I've ever ridden. The floaty, airtime-filled inversion, followed by the drop into the loop and the subsequent tight pullout, mimics a fighter jet going for a dive bomb, which is the theme of the ride. The double corkscrew is also a highlight, completely disorienting you and giving you some more floaty airtime before hitting you with another dose of strong positives from the subsequent helix. This ride is nothing like the other B&M flyers, feeling more like a modern take on a Vekoma flyer than anything else B&M has ever done. Although its layout is powerful and unique, the ride is not very well taken care of. It's quite rough for a B&M, and the restraints don't seem to unlock properly when you're done riding. It also frequently overshoots the final brake run, preventing it from running more than one train at a time. Overall, this is one of the best B&Ms in a park that unfortunately doesn't take very good care of its rides.
Let's give a round of applause to Basw. Very well said. Now it is time to unveil the number 1 B&M flyer, but if you have been following along, you all know it's the one and only Flying Dinosaur. Flying Dinosaur is quite literally insane, and it is nothing like any of the other B&M flyers besides maybe Starry Sky Ripper. From the second you release off the lift hill to the moment you hit the final brake run, it is full balls to the wall, non-stop trying to rip your head off. In particular, the first series of elements is one of the most intense coaster experiences on the planet. The fly-to-lie to the Raven turn to the pretzel loop is absolutely bonkers. It's hammering positive G moment after hammering positive G moment with Velocicoaster-like pacing on a flying coaster. It was really hard to wrap my head around what was happening, but after 6 rides and months of reflecting, I think I finally understand how insane this coaster is. Now the second half does let up a little bit, but by no means is it bad. The helix gives good forces, the airtime hill has airtime, and the pair of rolls are fun and pretty whippy. But the first half of this layout is still one of the best, most insane roller coasters out there. I still can't get over the sequencing of the first 3 elements and how fast you take it at, but for those reasons, Flying Dinosaur earns the number 1 spot. So those are my B&M flyer rankings. Those are all 5 custom layouts plus the 2 clone models. Huge thanks to Mr Coller Roaster, check out his channel, I will link it in the description, and huge thanks to Basw for the Starry Sky Ripper review. If you want to see more guest speakers on this channel, let me know, they are super fun to bring on. That's all for today's video guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, join the Discord, link in the description. I'll see you in the next one, have a great rest of your day, goodbye.